Imagine a shy, overlooked woman, relentlessly bullied by her college classmates. Standing alone in a tense courtyard, their mocking laughter echoing until she unleashes a hidden power that silences them all. Their smirks vanishing in an instant. This is the electrifying story of Emily Harper, the simple woman whose MMA black belt turned the tables on her tormentors in a moment that became legend. Dive into her raw, emotional journey of resilience, courage, and redemption in this gripping tale that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't miss out on stories like this. Hit that subscribe button now to join our community and stay hooked on epic tales of triumph. Hey viewers, drop a comment and let us know which part of the country you're watching this video from. The sun-scorched town of Redstone. A place where the Midwest's endless fields met crumbling brick buildings and the air hummed with the faint buzz of cicadas. Emily Harper was a shadow among the vibrant chaos of Redstone Community College. At 24, she was older than most of her classmates, her mousy brown hair always pulled into a loose braid. Her clothes, a rotation of faded jeans, plain t-shirts, and a threadbare backpack chosen for utility rather than style. She moved through the campus like a ghost, her hazel eyes fixed on the ground, her steps measured, as if trying to take up as little space as possible. To the casual observer, she was unremarkable, a nobody in a sea of loud voices and brighter personalities. But beneath her quiet exterior burned a fire forged in years of hardship, a resilience that had carried her through a childhood marked by pain and a present defined by sacrifice. Emily had enrolled in college late, her scholarship a hard-won lifeline after years of working grueling jobs, waitressing, cleaning houses, stocking shelves to support her younger sister Lily, who was 16 and navigating the turbulent waters of high school, and their mother, whose chronic illness had drained their savings and tethered Emily to a life of responsibility far beyond her years. The scholarship was her chance to rewrite her story, to build a future where she and Lily could escape the shadow of poverty, but it came with a cost. She was an outsider, older, quieter, and an easy target for those who thrived on cruelty. Her sociology class, a group of students had zeroed in on her from the first week, led by Vanessa Caldwell, a 20-year-old with glossy blonde hair, designer clothes, and a smile that cut like a knife. Vanessa was the queen bee, her confidence a weapon she wielded with precision. Her entourage Chloe, a petite brunette with a cruel giggle. Matt, a broad-shouldered jock with a penchant for intimidation, and a handful of others, amplifying her power. They noticed Emily's silence, her plain appearance, her habit of sitting alone with a book or her notes, and they pounced. It started small, whispers behind hands, as Emily answered questions in class, her voice soft but articulate, her answers thoughtful, despite the slight tremble in her hands. "Look at her, thinking she's smart," Vanessa would mutter, loud enough for Emily to hear. Her lips curling into a smirk as Chloe snickered, and Matt leaned back in his chair, his eyes glinting with malice. They mocked her clothes, calling her Goodwill Girl under their breath, and her quiet demeanor, joking that she must be too dumb to talk. Emily never responded, never met their eyes, just kept her head down and her focus on her work, her heart pounding, but her face a mask of calm. She had learned long ago, in a childhood shadowed by her father's rage and her mother's tears, that reacting only fed the beast, and she refused to give them the satisfaction. But inside the hurt festered, a slow burn that threatened to consume her memories of hiding under the kitchen table with Lily, shielding her from their father's drunken outbursts flashing through her mind. She had promised herself she'd never be weak again, a vow that had led her to a small, dimly lit gym on the edge of Redstone, where she'd trained in mixed martial arts for 6 years, earning her black belt through sweat, grit, and a determination that surprised even her. The gym was her sanctuary, a place where the world's noise faded, placed by the rhythmic thud of her fists against pads, the snap of her kicks echoing off concrete walls. Her coach, Marcus, a grizzled ex-fighter with scars crisscrossing his knuckles, had seen the fire in her eyes from the first day she'd walked in. A skinny teenager with a chip on her shoulder and a quiet intensity that spoke louder than words. "You're stronger than you know, kid," he'd tell her, pushing her through drills until her muscles screamed, teaching her not just to fight but to control, to channel, to endure. She never spoke of her training, never bragged, because that wasn't who she was. Simile Harper was the simple woman, the one who faded into the background, her strength a secret she kept even from herself some days. At school, the bullying grew bolder. Vanessa, sensing Emily's refusal to break, escalated her attacks, turning whispers into public humiliations. One afternoon in the cafeteria, as Emily sat alone with a sandwich and her sociology textbook, Vanessa accidentally knocked a tray of food into her lap, greasy fries and ketchup splattering across her jeans as the room erupted in laughter. "Oops, my bad," Vanessa said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness, while Chloe snapped a photo with her phone, already posting it to social media with a caption that read, "Simple Emily's new look." Matt loomed behind, his broad frame casting a shadow as he accidentally bumped her chair, spilling her coffee across her notes. Emily stood, her hands shaking as she wiped herself off, her eyes burning with unshed tears, but she said nothing. Just grabbed her bag and left, the laughter following her like a swarm of wasps. That night, in the cramped apartment she shared with Lily and their mother, Emily sat at the kitchen table, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound as Lily slept on the couch, her textbook spread out beside her. Emily stared at her own notes, the words blurring as her mind replayed the day's humiliation, the weight of it pressing against her chest. She wanted to quit, to disappear, to crawl back into the safety of invisibility. But she thought of Lily, of the promise she'd made, to give her sister a better life, and she clenched her fists until her knuckles whitened, her nails digging into her palms. She thought of Marcus's words, "You're stronger than you know," and she forced herself to keep going, to show up to class the next day, her head down, but her resolve unbroken. Vanessa, however, was relentless. In the hallway one morning, she cornered Emily, her posse at her back, her voice sharp as she tore into her. "You don't belong here, loser. Out. Why don't you just drop out? Save us all the trouble of looking at you." Emily's heart raced, her pulse thudding in her ears, but she kept her eyes on the floor, her silence a shield. Matt stepped closer, his bulk blocking her path, and flicked her braid, chuckling. "What's wrong, simple Emily? Too scared to talk?" Chloe giggled, snapping another photo while the others egged them on, their voices a chorus of cruelty. Something shifted in Emily, not loud or dramatic, but quiet, like a wire pulled taut until it hummed with tension. She looked up, her hazel eyes meeting Matt's, and for the first time, there was no fear in them, only a calm that sent a shiver through his spine. "Move," she said, her voice low but steady, cutting through the noise like a blade. He laughed, but it was forced, and he stepped aside, muttering under his breath as Emily walked away, her shoulders squared. Vanessa noticed the shift, her smirk faltering for a fraction of a second, and she doubled down, spreading rumors that Emily was a freak, a nobody, someone who'd never amount to anything. The whispers followed Emily everywhere through the halls in the cafeteria, even in the library where she sought refuge, but she kept going. Her focus razor-sharp in class, her grades impeccable despite the chaos. She poured herself into her studies, particularly her sociology project, a study on resilience in marginalized communities, drawing on her own experiences without ever naming them, her words raw and honest on the page. She spent nights at the kitchen table, Lily asleep nearby, her mother's soft breathing, a reminder of why she couldn't give up. The day of the project presentations arrived, and Emily stood at the front of the lecture hall, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. As she spoke, her slides simple but powerful, her data meticulously researched. She talked about the strength it took to survive when the world seemed determined to break you, her words carrying a weight that silenced the room. Even the professor nodding in quiet approval, but Vanessa couldn't stand it. As Emily finished, Vanessa raised her hand, her tone mocking. "So what? You're saying you're some kind of expert on being a loser? That's what this is about, right?" The class snickered, and Chloe chimed in. "Yeah, Emily, tell us how it feels to be invisible." Matt leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his smirk wide as he added, "Bet she cries herself to sleep every night." The professor started to intervene, but Emily raised her eyes, locking. them on Vanessa, then Chloe, then Matt, her gaze cutting through their bravado like a laser. The room went silent, the air thick with tension. "I know exactly how it feels," she said, her voice clear and unyielding. "Because people like you make sure I never forget." The words hung in the air, sharp and heavy, and for a moment, no one moved. Vanessa's face reddened, her smirk gone, and she stood, slamming her hands on the desk. "You think you can talk to me like that? Meet me after class, freak. We'll see who's strong." The professor tried to regain control, his voice sharp as he called for order. But the bell rang, and the students spilled into the hall, the buzz of anticipation electric. Emily didn't want to fight. She never had, but she knew Vanessa wouldn't. Let this go. She could feel the eyes on her as she walked to the courtyard. Her backpack slung over one shoulder, her heart steady, despite the knot in her stomach. The crowd was already gathering, phones out, ready to record, a modern-day colosseum where humiliation was the sport. Vanessa stood in the center, flanked by Chloe and Matt, her voice taunting as Emily approached. "Ready to cry, simple Emily?" She sneered, stepping closer, her manicured nails glinting in the sunlight. Emily set her bag down, her movements slow, deliberate, her eyes never leaving Vanessa's. "I don't want to fight you," she said, her voice calm but firm, carrying over the murmurs of the crowd. "Walk away." Matt laughed, stepping forward, his chest puffed out, his bulk dwarfing her. "Or what? You gonna run home and cry to your mommy?" The crowd jeered, their voices a chorus of anticipation, but Emily didn't flinch. She dropped into a stance, her body relaxed but ready. Her weight balanced on the balls of her feet, her eyes locked on Matt's. "Last chance," she said, her voice low, a warning wrapped in calm. He lunged, swinging a sloppy punch, his confidence fueled by his size and the crowd's cheers, but Emily was ready. Her training took over, her body moving with the precision of years spent in the gym. She sidestepped, her movements fluid, and caught his arm, twisting it behind his back in a smooth motion that left him gasping, his knees buckling as she applied just enough pressure to make him wince. The crowd gasped, phones shaking as they recorded, the air electric with shock. Vanessa screamed, her composure shattered, and rushed forward, her nails aimed at Emily's face. But Emily ducked, her reflexes honed, and swept Vanessa's legs out from under her with a precise kick. Vanessa hit the ground hard, her breath whooshing out, her eyes wide with shock as she scrambled to sit up, her designer clothes smudged with dirt. Chloe hesitated, her bravado gone, and backed away, her phone slipping from her hand. Emily stood over them, her breathing steady, her face calm but unyielding, her hazel eyes burning with a fire that silenced the crowd. "I told you to walk away," she said, her voice carrying over the stunned silence. It's not loud but powerful, a statement of fact rather than a threat. The crowd parted as she picked up her bag and walked off, her head high, her steps steady. The smirks wiped clean from her tormentors' faces. The video spread like wildfire, shared across campus social media, then beyond. Racking up views on platforms like X, the comments flooding with awe and disbelief. "Who is this girl? She's a badass." Did you see their faces? Vanessa and her crew slunk away, their power diminished, their cruelty exposed for what it was, weakness masquerading as strength. Emily returned to class the next day, her head down as always, but the whispers had changed, no longer cruel but curious, tinged with respect. She never spoke of the fight, never acknowledged the video, but it became legend. A story passed around the campus like a modern myth, the simple womanhood. Had enough, and showed the world what strength really looked like. She kept studying, kept training, kept showing up for Lily and their mother, her focus unbroken. Her sociology professor pulled her aside one day, praising her project, suggesting she submit it to a national conference. And for the first time, Emily allowed herself to believe she could be more than the girl who survived. She could be the woman who thrived. Months passed, and the incident faded from the campus's collective memory, but its impact lingered. Vanessa transferred to another school, unable to reclaim her former glory. Matt avoided Emily's gaze in the halls, his bravado replaced by a quiet unease. Chloe deleted her social media accounts, the photos and videos she'd posted, now a source of shame. Emily, meanwhile, graduated at the top of her class, her sister cheering wildly in the audience, her mother's frail hands squeezing hers as they celebrated in their small apartment. A cake from the local bakery sitting proudly on the table. After graduation, Emily took a job teaching self-defense at Marcus's gym. Her classes filled with kids who reminded her of herself, quiet, overlooked, carrying burdens no one else could see. She taught them to stand tall, to find their strength, to protect themselves without losing who they were. Her story, the video, the legend, followed her, but she never let it define her. She was still Emily Harper, the simple woman, but now, she knew what that simplicity hid, a fire that could burn through anything, a strength that didn't need to shout to be heard. Years later, when Lily graduated high school and followed Emily to college, the sisters stood together on the campus. Quad, the same place where Emily had faced down her bullies, and they laughed, the sound bright and free. Emily had kept her promise, not just to Lily, but to herself, building a life that was hers, forged in resilience and tempered by grace. And as the sun set over Redstone, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emily looked out at the horizon, her heart steady, her fire still burning, knowing she'd never be invisible again. Hey viewers, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and let us know which part of the country you're watching this video from.